Okay. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Um, so today's project is a direct request. Um, I didn't come up with this idea. I didn't even know this existed until someone said, "Hey, you should make this." Uh, we are making Martabak, which I guess is a popular food in Indonesia and has been exported from there to Germany, I want to say. Um, Maybe Netherlands. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, so I don't actually know what this is supposed to be like at the end because I've never had it. The last thing, this was in response to my last thing, which was Indonesian food specifically, and I could see people saying, "Oh my God, I miss Indonesian food. I love Indonesian food. Make this, make that." Well, we're making one of those. Um, but I've never had this. I've never seen this. I have no idea what it is. The last thing I had a reference at least where I could, because I had this instant packet, so I could compare the flavors, and I had a pretty clear picture of what I was shooting for. Not so this time. This time we're kind of shooting blind. So wish me luck, I guess. Um, Near as I can tell, Martabak is just a general term for fried pancakes, um, because the sweet kind and the savory kind are pretty much nothing like each other, except that they're flat and fried and called martabak. Um, so I guess whatever I make, as long as it's flat and fried, is gonna be correct. But we'll find out. We'll find out together. It'll be exciting. We're having a kind of a dreary, rainy morning here today, so uh, I don't know if that's appropriate weather for this kind of food, but here we go. Um, the interesting thing is they're so unlike each other. One of them is more like a large American style pancake, where it's this thin batter and it bubbles and all this stuff. I've got reference recipes. I've got reference recipes because I'm completely blind. The other one said get spring roll wrappers and use those, which is totally different things. I don't have spring roll wrappers, so we're gonna attempt making a dough for that. I've got a potentially workable dough for that. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I don't know. It's going to be an adventure. It's going to be an adventure for sure. Uh, we may just heck it all up and end up with nothing. Um, I've got the kit. Well, I've almost got the kitchen cleaned up. I'm gonna, since we're still in the beginning phase here, and I have not yet committed to starting, and I have, in fact, a small number of dishes here left. I'm going to clean them up real quick because I anticipate making a lot of dishes today. Since I'm making two things that I don't know how to make, both of which require a dough or batter. That one got a little bit crusted on. We maybe have to soak that guy. I think we have to soak that guy. Um, okay, well, almost caught up on the dishes. One of them has to soak because I left some barbecue sauce on it and it got all crusted in place. But yeah. Oh, hello. I can't quite read you from over here. I will respond in a second. Oh. Now, spring roll dough isn't pastry dough, so they probably made spring rolls, but they made some kind of British nonsense. I've noticed that when the British baking show makes ethnic food, they don't do a super good job of making it the way they make it in the place where it's from. Their Mexican episode is infamous at this point. um, but yeah, so I guess I should probably get rolling. I do have my reference recipes. We're going to start by making the batter for the Martabak manis, the sweet pancake. Uh, because it needs to rest, and while it's resting, I can make the dough for the savory one. Then that has to rest. So while they're both resting, I'll make fillings because they're both filled. That's the thing. It's a filled big pancake, kind of. Um, so we'll start by getting out ingredients. Um, I had almost everything that this calls for, although I decided to make the savory thing literally this morning, and I didn't have time to run out for spring roll wrappers, so I'm going to make my own wrapper dough. Otherwise, I think I would have just bought spring roll, pre-made spring roll wrappers and just folded them because those things work great. Trouble I have with them, of course, is that there's too much. There's too many in a package. I can't use them up before they go off because I don't eat enough spring rolls. So we're going to need the tower of flour for two things, for multiple things. I'm going to try to make one of each of these, which is also going to be a challenge. Um, because none of these recipes are really intended for there being just one. So we'll see how much I get out of them. We may end up with more than one, but I'm gonna attempt to trim these recipes down a little bit so I'm not giving myself a huge pile of food. Um, so we need all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, which I have. I should take a peek at it, make sure it's not gone weird. It's still in the bag. It's fine. Let me get my camera down here so you can also take a peek at my granulated sugar in the bag. Look, there it is. Uh, this is the thing I actually had to pick up was tapioca flour. Um, now that we have it, I'll figure out more things to do with it. I often see it as a thickener in liquid dishes, like soups and stuff, to make the broth more like a thick gravy. We need egg, and this is where I'm going to cut this recipe down. I'm going to use one egg. Uh, although we're going to need the other eggs for the savory one because there's egg inside of it. Although there's no egg in the batter for that one, so again, a little bit of a split. I'm unconvinced that these two things I'm making should have the same name. Let's be clear with that. They're both called Martabak, but I am unconvinced that I would call these the same thing because they're pretty much unrelated except that they are flat fried things. Um, we got out our baking powder and baking soda, because this is a leavened pancake. Um, Water is available. I'm not going to get out water. Vanilla, and that's it. Do I have any vanilla? Almond, maple, lemon, ranciette, vanilla. I don't have a ton of vanilla. We'll go easy on the vanilla. I should make something with ranciette. Everyone's favorite flavor. Everyone's favorite flavor to hate on. Ranciette. Which is the French name for uh, sassafras, I think. Um, um, so we're cutting all these things in half, and I'm doing it. We've got flour, so we're going to need our scales. And this one wants to rest for a while, so we're also going to need a bowl that I can put a lid on and set it aside somewhere. But step one, and I'm just going to cut this recipe straight in half. So 150 grams of all-purpose flour. And I doubt I need to be super perfect with it. This is like a pancake batter. So we're going to get within a couple of grams. There, within a gram. You can't see the scale number. You probably still can't see the scale number. 1 tablespoon tapioca, which I have to now open fresh. I'm glad that this. Now I understand that this is not available in Europe. This is a pretty America-only brand. But Bob's Red Mill has been a savior when it comes to some of these recipes where I need some weird thing. I go looking for it, and darn if Bob's Red Mill doesn't have it ready to go in a package. Things that I thought I'd have to go hunting to a specialty store for. Nope. Bob's Red Mill. They've got it. Sponsor me, Bob's Red Mill. Mel! Is this your first time here? I thought for sure you'd have been here before. Mel, welcome in. We're making Martabak today. We're making two kinds because I learned that there are two kinds, and I also learned that they require a rest. So rather than stand and stare at you for an hour while one of them rests, we're going to make two things for twice the complications. Yes. Well, welcome in, Mel. It's glad to have you. We're just measuring out our dry ingredients, so we've just barely started. Flour, tapioca, and 1/8 of a cup of sugar, which I fortunately have handy, although that's also 2 tablespoons, so I could just use the tablespoon measure again. I think I will, because it will be easier to scoop. We can do a staring stream. I've done that before, where I don't know what to do, and I just kind of walk in circles for several minutes while I wait for something. But I typically like to keep active. We still have no sound effects or music to fill time, so I have to chatter, and it's because I have not yet been able to acquire a new microphone setup, so I can't hear sounds coming out of the computer while I'm doing this, unless I switch off the microphone, and then it's just me listening to you instead of me talking to you, which would be a very different kind of stream. Um, Anyways, those are our dry ingredients, and our scales can go away for the moment. We're going to need them back eventually. Uh, we also need to whisk this together, and I'm not going to tiny whisk it. We're going to full size whisk this guy to get all these little things, all these powders, 3 white powders, uh, well combined before I add any liquids to it. Probably should have written down this recipe as a half recipe instead of having each thing as I go. That would be more logical. I was using pretzel, but two things happened with pretzel. Um, well, first of all, the biggest problem with the music is that I can't hear it because of the way this headset works. I can't hear it. But I was using pretzel, uh, and it had 2 issues. One, it's not copyright free. When I upload the VOD archives to YouTube, a couple of the songs get flagged each time, even though I had it set to copyright free music only. It wasn't. It was still getting flagged. Um, so I don't trust them to be curating to that degree. I'm sure it's fine for Twitch. It's not fine for YouTube. I would have to manually curate a list. Um, 2, I don't have an active enough chat. Pretzel chats each new song that plays, and it because I don't have a ton of chatters at any given time, it just fills up my chat with this is the song that's playing, which is quite annoying. Um, what I should do, first of all, I would like to be able to hear it to myself. Um, but what I should do is manually put together a list of music that is DMCA free that I can just play on a playlist. Um, I know some other people have done that. Uh, it's more effort, but you result in not having an oops. This one was turns out was a copyright. Now I'm not making money off of YouTube, so those copyright flags aren't getting followed up by anything. There's no advertising on my YouTube because I don't have any viewers because it's just an archive of my streams. But I'd like to future-proof it because I don't know where this is all going to go in the future. Um, Make a well in the center of your dry stuff. Put in the egg. Egg. Scrap bowl. Yeah, I'd hate to get to the point where, oh my God, my channel took off and I've got hundreds of viewers or thousands of viewers or whatever the mark of success is, and then music label swoops in and says, "Oh, by the way, we're going to claim all these videos because that 2 minutes uh, of one song that played, that's ours, and we're just going to grab the whole thing." So I'd much rather. I know no one ever watches my stream archives. They're not really good viewing, but because nobody can see the chat, so I'm talking to you, and you're like, who's he talking to? Um, uh, I'm getting distracted. Very chatty today. Exciting. So 1 eggs. We need 1 1/4 cup, 300 milliliters. So 150 milliliters of water. Um, I don't mind advertising for people. It's just an issue of because I've only often got 1 to 3 active chatters. Chat gets drowned out by the advertising thing. Uh, we'll revisit that idea down the line. 150 milliliters of water. Keep that guy handy. We're probably going to need that again. And 1.5 teaspoons, so 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. I don't have a 3/4 teaspoon. I have a 1/4 teaspoon. It seems like too much vanilla for this, but I guess we'll find out. Uh, but I know that I should do something with the music, but I'm hampered by the fact that whatever I do, I can't hear it until I'm able to invest in a better microphone setup. And that's the issue. It's the microphone. I would keep using this headset, but I would unhook the microphone and have a separate dedicated microphone input. That's the issue. Because the headset has good sound. It doesn't. The microphone is kind of iffy, and the biggest issue is that it's a Bluetooth connection, and Bluetooth really does not want to have a two-way connector. I forced it once. I managed to figure this out and force it to give me a monitoring signal, and the sound quality in both directions absolutely tanked. It worked, but it was terrible to listen to. So we abandoned that. Um, I'm not going to use an electric mixer for this. We're just going to use a whisk. Anyways, uh, the sound system is one of those things where I know what would fix my problem, and there are things I would love to implement, but they are kind of gated. Well, right now it's easy to understand me because I've got the system set up where I can't hear anything. Um, but uh, the things I want to do with the sound setup for the stream are kind of gated behind the price tag of a new microphone. Um, I almost pulled the trigger on buying a new microphone several months ago based on the one that um, Salberry got for her baking and other cooking. I think she mostly does baking. Because it seemed good. It was good. It was a good performance as far as I could tell. But I hesitated, and I'm glad I hesitated because I recently heard from her that although the connections and the sound still works, the display on the transmitter unit failed. And that was my concern. Um, the one she got was very affordable, but it was also not one of the big brands. And that's kind of what made me hesitate. I've got my eye on a different one, and it's more expensive. So maybe we'll get lucky and there'll be a Black Friday sale, and I'll actually be able to pick it up at a reasonable price. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's made by Rode, and Rode does good work. I'm supposed to mix this for 7 to 10 minutes. Oh no, I'm supposed to mix this until smooth, and then it wants me to make sweet butter, which I'm going to not make a bunch of sweet butter. It wants me to make a ton of sweet butter. Or wait, it wants me to wait. It wants me to. I'm not sure. The recipe's not super clear. I think this is right. This is a nice sort of thin batter. It's supposed to be well mixed because it's supposed to be chewy. The thing says it's going to be chewy. Um, I've seen the microphone that I've got my eye on now in action as well. Alistair has it, if you're familiar with Alistair. Um, we're going to scrape the sides down because they will just dry out. Alistair used it on his cooking stream. He did a baking stream where he made cupcakes, and he had a fun little lavalier mic. Uh, and it seemed quite good. Now, I didn't make him test it because he was busy. I would love to have like directed him around and said, "Go try this, go try that." Um, one of the concerns I have is line of sight because my herb garden is not here in the kitchen with me. So when I go get herbs, the Bluetooth connection works fine. I worry that my line of sight, that the a lot of those microphones are line of sight connections, and I would lose it going to my herbs. I know that's kind of a specific to me problem. So, okay, that's our batter. That's supposed to rest for 30 minutes to 3 hours, which is quite the time. No, it's not just sweet butter. It's not just unsalted butter. It's sugared butter. I I know what you mean, but that's not what this is. The when it says it wants a it's it says butter mixture. Beat it until it's sticky and gooey, which is creaming the butter. Um, it wants me to cream some butter, but then what it wants me to do is spread it on the surface. I'm unclear. I'll read it verbatim. Make a well in the center of the flour, then put the eggs, vanilla extract, and water in. Uh, Using a whisk, a handheld mixer, a handheld blender, or a stand mixer, beat and mix the mixture until smooth. Done. Using a big spoon, keep stirring and beat the butter mixture. There's been no mention of a butter mixture prior to this. Beat the butter mixture. Press it against the bowl as you mix. Keep mixing for 7 to 10 minutes until the mixture is smooth, sticky, and slightly gooey. Set aside and leave to rest for 1 to 2 hours. I'm unclear whether it wants me to incorporate a butter mixture that has not been previously mentioned into this step, or if it wants me to make a butter mixture at this point. Um, let's let's look up a competing recipe. Here's We're getting into a staring stream. For those of you who wanted the staring stream, we're going to do that for a sec while I look up a competing recipe. This is a yeasted one, which is interesting. We're not doing a yeasted one. Okay, this one wants me to incorporate margarine directly into that. So I guess we're supposed to incorporate butter into this part of the recipe, but not melted butter. This one wants me to use how much butter do I have? I have 1.5 tablespoons of butter in the fridge, and then I've got some in the freezer. Okay. So near as I can tell, I'm supposed to add butter to this. There's already sugar in it. I don't know what they mean by butter mixture. The way it describes it suggests that it's just butter that I'm trying to incorporate into the pan or into the batter. So half a cup of butter is so a quarter cup of butter is 4 tablespoons of butter. So half a stick of butter. I can do that. I'm going to melt the butter and throw it in there. Turns out recipe writing is hard, and the things that you won't think are a problem when you're writing it end up being something that the people making it. Nope, nope, that butter was frozen. That's why I don't typically freeze my butter because it's really hard to use. But I bought extra butter because the price of butter was going. Bought extra butter and froze it, and so some of my butter is now frozen, even though I hate frozen butter because it's impossible to use. And then we're going to microwave it, and when you microwave frozen butter, it has a bad habit of exploding, which fridge cold butter doesn't do. This is a pancake. Like this thing is like a thick pancake, uh, but it cooks very slowly, not like a pancake. It takes several minutes to cook one. Is the thing. So any excess moisture is going to be driven out of it while we're slowly cooking it. We have plenty of time. This batter is supposed to rest, and I have a second dough to make up while this one is resting. Um, so it's not a thin like crepe pancake. It's a big, thick, chewy pancake, according to the descriptions I'm looking at. We're doing the butter in. I'm going to be out of the room pretty much while I'm microwaving this butter because I don't want the butter to explode, and frozen butter almost always explodes. Um, so I, but again, it needs to rest for a while, so we've got plenty of time to think about this and work it out. Um, so Martabak, there's a story. I did some research. Martabak, if you just Google the word Martabak, you will end up with the Middle Eastern Martabak, which is not the same thing, even though it's the same word. And it's the same word because the Indonesian word and the Indonesian dish is taken from the Middle Eastern Martabak. But this is Indonesian Martabak, which is different. Um, I also ran into that. The first time I Googled it, it was like, this is a pan bread from Saudi Arabia, Middle East area. And like, that doesn't seem right. So what I'm making is called Martabak Manis, and it is specifically an Indonesian take on this concept. So if you're studying along at home and looking stuff up, that's what I'm shooting for. But again, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing because I've never had, made, or seen this before. Um, this came in from a request. Uh, Morgan and Zintax both said, "Oh, we should make that." So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll make that. Because I'm interested in foods of that region. I had a whole like 2 week kick where I was making Filipino food. I absolutely loved that. I love the way the Southeast Asian Oceania region takes ingredients from other parts of the world and just does things with them that the places where they're from would never do. It's it's fascinating to me. We're back. The butter is mostly melted. Uh, I'm going to get a spoon. We're going to stir it to melt it the rest of the way to get the heat from the liquid part to equal out with the coolness of the solid part. Because we don't want this to be hot, hot because there's egg in our batter, and I don't want to scramble it. We'll just stir it to equalize it and to cool it off a little bit. Oops, we're spilling our butter. I had been avoiding. Yeah, it looks tricky to me as well. I have definite doubts that I'm going to pull this off as my very first try. But I have a recipe that claims to be an easy version. God, what time am I looking at? Oh man, time flies when you're talking to Mel, I guess. Um, okay, melted butter. It's body temperature, which means it's not hot enough to scramble eggs. Um, so we're going to incorporate it into my batter now. Save that plastic wrap because I'm going to use that again. There. That was not so hard. Incorporated easily. I just wish I had pre-melted my butter. Again, scrape down the sides because they will just dry out. Put a plastic wrap over the top. Move on to the next thing. I've lost track of how long it was already resting, and I re-agitated it, so it probably doesn't count as having been resting. But we're going to come back to this whenever I get done with all the other stuff. That's how long it gets to rest. It does not get to rest a set amount of time. It gets to rest until I get to it. Pardon me. Still got a little bit of a nagging cough. My understanding is that may be with me for quite some time. Uh, for those of you unaware, I had COVID last week. Um, and although I'm recovered, there are some lingering effects. Okay, let's go with the other thing. Um, this one is different. This one is very different. This one is also called Martabak, but it is more like a big, flat, wide fried spring roll. And we're going to make much smaller than the full recipe. This one makes 10 spring roll wrappers, like large spring roll wrappers. That's more than I need. Um, so we're going to cut this. I don't want to necessarily slash it by 10. We're going to try to make one ball of dough. Fortunately, all the ingredients for this one are things that can be measured out. There's no egg in this. And I've got pictures of what it's supposed to look like when it's done. So here we go. We're going to make an attempt at a small batch, just enough for one of these. So I'm shooting for 30 grams of flour. That's it. That's 35 grams of flour. Um, This is such a small amount that's gonna be tricky. Maybe I should make 2, just in case one of them fails. And also because it'll be a little bit easier to handle if I make it slightly larger. Okay, 60 grams of flour. That's not much flour. Um, and then it wants a tablespoon. What's a fifth of a tablespoon? What? 1/5 tablespoons. Oh my God, Google, why are you an idiot? A little more than half a teaspoon. Google, when I asked Google, what's 1/5 of a tablespoon, it gave it to me in gallons. It converted it to gallons. That was the default. Why is that the default? Who wants tablespoons to gallons? Um, so a little more than half of a teaspoon of oil, which I have handy. Half a teaspoon. Giant jug of oil. And then just a tiny dribble more. Yes, some troll working for Google has decided that the default conversion for tablespoons for a fifth of a tablespoon. By the way, a fifth of a tablespoon is 0.00078,125 gallons. Super useful. Just the most useful thing. I know you were worried what that might be. Um, and then water. 19 milliliters of water. Doubled. So 40 milliliters of water. I don't think my measure goes that low. That one certainly doesn't. The little guy? The little guy does. We're using the very small measuring cup because it goes down that low. This is a strange thing I'm making. Technically 38, but I'm rounding off. Okay. This is supposedly going to make us 2 large spring roll wrappers. We shan't need the scales anymore. Just use this spoon because it's handy to get it started. Okay, this one needs to be kneaded because we're making an actual dough ball out of it. The oil is definitely helping it to be less crazily sticky. I think that's probably the purpose here. Because it's sticking to me, but it's not like super duper sticking to me. Although the more I do this, the more super duper it seems to want to stick to me. And we can't afford to lose a lot of it because I don't have a lot of it. So um, maybe I'll oil my hand. It also could be that I should not have added those 2 extra milliliters of water, and it's too sticky. Um, comes off the spoon really easily. It just sticks to me, which is really annoying. Uh, Once again, the challenges I'm coming across are mostly with batters and doughs. You want me to fry something in a pan? I can do that. You want me to mix up a specific dough or batter? Well, buckle up. But it's not sticking to the spoon very much, and the spoon has a flat backing that I can use as a kneading paddle. So I guess we're going to do that. I just feel like it needs a little bit more flour. It's not pulling away from the sides um, the way I think it should. We're going to add a gentle cascade of flour. Just to try to pull it together. Because although this is meant to be a soft dough, it's also supposed to be real stretchy. Because you got to make it into a little thin sheet. So it's a balance between it being soft enough to stretch it out, but strong enough, or no, soft enough to stretch it, yeah, to make it thin, but strong enough to hold together. I could add a whole bunch of dough or flour and make it way too tough. Good morning, Sizan. We're on our second dough slash batter of the morning already. The other one is resting over there in the corner where nobody can see it. This one is much stickier than I think it's supposed to be. But I'm hesitant to go off. Keep kneading the dough until smooth. The dough will be a bit sticky. But then it divides it into portions, and the portions are just nice, neat balls, not gluey like this. So it's got me questioning. It is ended up sticking to my. It has ended up sticking to my spoon. It comes together and it pulls away from the surface, but then it still wants to stick to things like the spatula and my finger. So I think it's too sticky. It just strikes me as it being too sticky. So add more flour until I can make it into a cohesive ball that does not stick to everything. Is the For those of you following along at home, I suggest buying a pre-made wrapper for this. It's a very soft dough. It's also so small. That's part of what makes it hard to work with is that it's so small and it's very soft. And we're back to it sticking to everything. It's supposed to be a little sticky. According to the thing, it's supposed to be a little sticky. But when it glues onto me and glues onto the countertop like that, I think that's more than a little sticky. That's very sticky. But again, it's supposed to be kind of a light thing. But, well, if I go fast on it, it doesn't stick. As soon as I slow down, it tries to stick. It means I can't hold it or even pause with it. It has to keep moving. Oh, now it's just too sticky. Okay, shoot. We're trying to find this balance between it being between it doing this and it actually holding a shape. Stop being so gluey. Get off my hands. At what point do I say good enough? It's going to need a period of resting, but I'm supposed to get it into two cohesive balls before I rest it, because it's supposed to rest in oil, which means I need it to be firm enough that I can divide it into two balls and not just being a mess of glue. At the moment, I've got a mess of glue. And yeah, it feels like I may have created a flubber here. It's got a lot more flour in it than it called for as well, which makes me think I've done it wrong. Incorporate all these little flakes in here. The last little bit of flour I added did help. But then as I try to knead it, it re-stickifies. And now I definitely need to knead it because it's got those little bits in it. And those little bits need to be incorporated. Because again, we're supposed to stretch this out into a sheet. You stay there. And I don't want to keep adding flour to this. So So we're going with oil. It's supposed to have more oil in it anyways because it's supposed to rest in some oil. So oiling my hands is probably the way to go with this. It still wants to stick. It's less sticky than it was, and I think that's a good sign. And the oil is preventing it from sticking to my hand, at least as much. Oop, that's a lot of oil. Oily. This is my fry oil, by the way. Such a small ball that I'm having a hard time kneading it on the surface, so I'm going to knead it here in my hand with the oil. This is a better idea than adding more flour. Greasy. Greasy. Look at that shine. So I'm kneading this until it feels firm, and then we're going to rest it. We're going to divide it in half, make the balls nice and round, and then rest it. I'm just going to pinch it off instead of bothering with a perfect cut. 2 little balls. Again, I had to cut this recipe down by a fifth because this recipe wants to make a ton of these. Yeah, I'm not going to fully wash my hands because I'm going to get more oil on them in a sec, but get the worst of the oil off of them. Pick up our ball, put it back in our bowl. Pick up our other ball, put it back in our bowl, and then oil. And that's what it wants me to do. Rest them in oil. Which, again, I don't know what I'm doing, so hopefully this doesn't heck it up. That needs to go sit by itself for a while. Hopefully I can strain that oil and save it. That was quite a bit of oil I just dumped in there from my fry oil. Yes, a bath of oil. It seems strange to me, but I am totally unfamiliar with the cuisine we are making. Aside from last week's one thing that I made, mee goreng was my first instant mee goreng from a package. Was my very first introduction to Indonesian food at all. And now we're making Indonesian food. So with a minimum guide, um, we're gonna have to take a moment to clean up. The flour tower goes away because that's all of our flours used. I've got some things in here I should be using in recipes like now we've got tapioca flour, we've also got semolina flour, we've also got garbanzo flour. I should be using all of those in recipes. Keep the sugar handy, keep the leavening agents handy. Anyways, that was That was an adventure. It's time to take making those things take quite a bit. Um, we're gonna go ahead and clean up our workspace a little bit. Okay, so the savory martabak needs a filling that we then wrap the wrapper around and pan fry it. Um, so this is where I know what I'm doing. It wants me to make quick onion pickles. As a side? Yeah, as a side. So that's not the filling. Although if I want to serve it with a quick onion pickle, I need to make that. Um, we need a. Well, I should have unfrozen it. We need a relatively small amount of filling. It wants me to use for a stack of 10 of them. It wants me to use 300 grams of beef. Um, so if I'm making two, I can't divide out 60 grams of beef. I also don't have ground beef right now. Here's what I'm going to do. Scale's coming back out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make up a filling. I was unthawing these because I noticed they were in there and I needed to use them up. These are slightly aged large scallops. Uh, and I'm going to get out. This is going to be the meat element. We're going to see how many of them. Two of them is the appropriate amount of filling for the amount of dough balls I made. That seems low. Going to throw in two more small ones. But I guess I'm making scallop filled. Digging through my freezer, noticing, oh, I've got some things in here I really should be using up before they go freezer burning on me. Scallops. Oop, we need onion, shallot, green onion, pepper, salt, curry powder, sugar. I think we're going to skip the curry. I think we're going to go for a different flavor profile on this. But I do need some green onions, so we're going to go to my front herb area, which you guys cannot see and shall never see. Nope, we're coming back because the scissors, my herb scissors, are not up there. They are not up here either. Where are my little herb scissors? Guys, which one of you took my little herb scissors? And please return them to me uh, forthwith. Let's see, I was using them for herbs. I could have sworn they were up here, but the herbs. Oh, here they are. Oh my god, why are they there? Okay, I found them. We need some green onion, which is currently growing in my front window. from scraps of green onions of ages past. Turns out you can replant the bottom, the root part of green onions, and they will grow new uh, green onion tops pretty much with no effort. They just sprout right up. So next time you buy green onions from the grocer, save the little bottom parts with the roots on them. Give them a plant and watch as fresh green onions sprout up right before your eyes, ready for use at no additional charge. I've still got shallots handy. I kind of want to put in, well, I definitely want to put in garlic. So we'll get out some garlic. It wants regular onion as well. Um, so we'll get out a little one of those. I feel like curry powder is not the right flavor for scallops. But let's get out we're going to mince these scallops up too. So it's going to be a bit of a weird one. We're going to get out a small frying pan. Hop over to the stove. Put a dab of oil in there. Heat on medium-low. Now, this recipe wants me to use beef, which means that it wants me to start with the beef. But since I'm not using beef, we're going to start with the onion. Because scallops cook much faster than beef. I'm not going to say I know for sure, but I'm reasonably certain this is one of those recipes where the base recipe and the fillings are essentially separate things. You can fill them with whatever. I imagine there's 1,000 variations of savory Martabak all over. As long as I hit the general profile of it. But I don't know. If one of you in chat is an expert on Indonesian cuisine, please tell me where I have gone horribly wrong. Tell you one thing, and I don't think we're going to do it because I didn't plan ahead for it. The sweet one appears to be traditionally stuffed with chocolate, condensed milk, and cheddar cheese, which is certainly a combination, not one I'm familiar with. I didn't notice the cheddar cheese bit until today, and I don't have any on hand, so I don't think we're doing it, but it's certainly an interesting combo, and I might want to revisit this, just the sweet one, just to try that out. Um, okay, garlic. Now, The recipe here does not have garlic in this part. It wants to put garlic in a sauce, a dipping sauce. Shallot and onion, beef, pepper, curry powder, sugar. And it wants shallot. And I'm still not 100% clear on what's special about shallots aside from the fact that they are smaller than onions and pink. Um, I know. They're milder. Sure, but there are mild onions. I don't know what makes a shallot so special compared to just a mild onion. Um, I know that their layers are thinner, and that's neat when you want a really fine little mince of them. I don't know why I decided to use this small paring knife for this. But here we are. I decided to use a small paring knife for this. Okay. Those guys are in. The heat is on and coming up. We will give them a sprinkling of salt. And then we are going to do a similar treatment to these here bits of scallop meat. I know. Nice big scallops, and I'm mincing them up. I should have used little baby scallops. Well, this is what I have on hand. They're a little bit old because I bought a large. Scallops are one of those things, especially the big ones like this. They are more expensive than I am willing to pay for them. But when I see them on discount, I buy them because they freeze up pretty well. And while I was rummaging in my freezer, I noticed these and I transferred them down to the fridge yesterday to start thawing so I could use them for stuff. And today, I decided to make a savory martabak. Since I've got these handy and they're already most of the way thawed, they're going to be my go-to filling. I don't think they're traditional. I don't think I've ever heard of someone mincing a nice big solid scallop like this. But here we go. Okay. Oh, I switched the camera over to stovetop mode. and then proceeded to do a bunch of chopping over here, which is not right. Let's see. Oh, shallot is making my eyes water a little bit. Uh, Water, sugar, garlic, bird's eye chilies, lemon juice. Um, for a sauce for this thing. For a sauce for this thing. Uh, Sounds like a good sauce to me. We can do that. We're gonna need a pretty small pan because I'm not. Again, I'm making trying to make just enough for one here. I also don't have palm sugar, so regular sugar and 100 mils of water. Okay, this is gonna be my sauce over here in the back. Sauce. Start with water. Add 100 grams of sugar, so 30 grams of sugar. I don't know how much that is, and I'm not going to weigh it out. I'm going to take a spoon, small spoon, take a scoop of sugar, sugar it. A lot of sugar. I notice there's a lot of sugar in uh, Southeast Asian cooking, in savory cooking. Um, Garlic crushed, thinly sliced, and use the knife for that, in our mixture. Green chilies. Where did I put the green chilies? Green chilies, which we still have handy from the last time I made Indonesian foods. Big knife. It's so much easier to cut things with the big knife. I don't know why I reach for the little paring knife for things, and the big knife does the job and does it better. Uh, so this sauce should be brown, but I don't have palm sugar. So without the palm sugar, it's going to be not brown unless I add brown to it. Oop, my onions are a little bit overdone. I just noticed. Not a catastrophe, but we do need to pay attention. And we need to throw in our green onions. And flavors. There's no flavor in there. It wanted me to use curry powder. Curry powder and sugar? I can add sugar. Again, there's a lot of sugar in a lot more sugar than I expect whenever I make this type of stuff. You know what? I'm going to use curry powder, but we're not going to use a ton, and we're going to eyeball it. I've got some nice yellow curry here. Add about that much. About that much. That's how much I'm adding. We've got a lot more moisture in the pan because the scallops are producing moisture, which is good. Prevent my onions from burning anymore. Okay, I guess we're doing curried scallop. Seems like a strange combination to me. Scallops are easy to overcook as well, so we don't want to leave this in here too long. And we need quite a bit of green onion, which we will add now to make it green. Okay. This is going to be cooked effectively. Cooked again, because we're going to wrap it up in a pancake and fry it. So I'm going to take it off the heat, and it needs to rest. Because we're also going to add another thing to it, and that other thing is an egg. And if it's hot when I add the egg, it's going to instantly scramble, which is not what I'm looking for. I'm going to call an audible on our sauce mixture back here on the grounds that it's meant to have palm sugar in it, which is a less refined sugar and has more of the dark elements in it. So I'm going to darken this up with a dollop of molasses, and I'm going to call that my stand-in for palm sugar. Because I don't really have any other dark sugars available. It'll make it look nicer too. Okay, filling is cooked and cooling. Got a few scrappy bits here. We've got our batter and our dough ready to go. Okay. I think that means it is time to move to the next phase. Move our cutting board to the side. Don't let me forget about that That stuff, the sauce. It needs to at least incorporate. It's supposed to, I guess, thicken a little bit, likely from the sugar. It might actually need a little bit more sugar, but I'm hoping the molasses will take care of that. Okay, we're going to bring our dough balls back. Swap us back over to the countertop. I want to put another chili in there. I think I want to put this extra chili I've got in there, actually. So we're going to really quick chop the dried up end off of it. Go chop, 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 chop. Let that float around in there. And also this extra bit of garlic that I had on the side here. No sense in skimping out and making the sauce not flavorful. Oh, Taizan, thank you for the moisten. I don't even have a bottle of water here. Where's my bottle? That's how distracted I've been. I didn't even get my water ready. Make sure it's not hot water. Moist. Okay. That stainless pan is going to be my pan for. We're going to use some of this oil in the bowl here for frying. As soon as that's cooled down enough, I'm going to throw an egg in there. Okay. Okay. Sleeves up because this part feels like it's going to be a bit of a mess. These guys, at least one of them, possibly both of them, but at least one of them, need to be stretched out into a sheet. Oh, you know what? No, he's not quite cool enough. Um, clean my worktop off because we're just going to do it right here. We'll just grab this guy and start making him wide. Oop, I tore it immediately. Okay, that wasn't so hard. Aside from this tear that there's no way I'm going to get to stick back together because it's too oily. It's very elastic. It's very supple. Um, Yeah, I'm never going to get that to stick back together with the oil. It's developing little air bubbles, but those are underneath it. Okay. I'm going to take my pan, turn the heat on the pan, take some of this oil, switch this over to the stove. Let's take a little bit of the same oil, put it in the pan there. It wants quite a bit of oil from my pan, so I guess we're going to use it. Okay, this has got to get transferred to a different bowl because I don't trust the pan itself to be cool. Um, I put my eggs away already. No, I didn't. Where did I put my eggs? Oh, put them on top of the refrigerator, exactly where they've never gone before, and I would never think to look for them. Nice big egg. Just gonna chuck it in my mixture with my onions and scallops, and I guess I'll just use a fork to mash it together. See how much I've got, and see if I think I need 2 eggs for this. That should be. What do you think? I don't think I want more egg. I think another egg would drown this. So I think that's what we're going to do. Is just that there. And it looks like I've got enough for 2 because that's about as big as those dough flaps have gotten. Um, so don't let me forget about this. Don't let me forget about this. This sauce, it's simmering away. Gonna add some lemon juice to it. Still simmering away. This stuff, it's bubbling. I think it's supposed to be gloopy because it's gonna cook in the pan when we fry it. It's gonna set up. I think it's supposed to be really runny gloopy because the picture they've got of them filling it, it's like a puddle on the wrapper. It's like a puddle of egg with the stuff on the wrapper, and then they just kind of fold it up. I think it's supposed to be really gloopy because we're not frying it and then stuffing it. We're doing the whole shebang in the pan all at once. Um, so so let's picking up this dough flap is going to be fun. Don't put your fingers in hot oil. What are you thinking, man? This is supposed to be like a street food. So you're out on the street of Jakarta, and you're hungry, and you see a person selling. Well, I imagine the ones they're selling look better than this. Um, no, they just have it right in the pan, right in the hot pan. Now they're using like a griddle top, which I'm sure this is meant to be done on a flat top, and I don't have a flat top, so that's going to be part of the challenge here. But yeah, they slap this thing right on a flat top and fry it up. Looks better on this side. The other dough ball is larger, so I think the other dough ball probably will work better. But yeah, this is essentially what I think this one is supposed to look like. We just need to fry it until the wrapper is golden brown. By the look of this thing, they not only are using a flat top, but they're slapping the dough ball right onto it and then immediately flattening it. The fact that I don't have a flat top means that my edges immediately try to contract in because they slide down the sides, and that's going to be an issue that I just won't be able to deal with. Um, well, that's clearly going to be the bottom because it's the uglier of the sides. Um, we'll never know if it's going to affect the texture because I don't know what it's supposed to be like. So I'll only be able to describe what the thing I make is like. Also, we've got a second dough ball, so we're going to make one more of these. Um, and then we're going to set them aside because we're going to dive into the sweet one because I decided to make two things today. I can't imagine it's going to taste bad. It might end up chewy. Um, but who knows? I also feel like the pan probably wasn't quite hot enough when I started, or maybe it's too hot. Maybe I'm supposed to do this on a lower heat, so that it can give myself a chance to fold the wrapper in before it goes. I also feel like my wrappers are probably uneven because I don't know what I'm doing. Um, I'm gonna not forget about that thing and turn it off the heat before it boils itself to death. This guy, I want to be. Ooh, that side's looking good. For those of you following along at home, I suggest purchasing pre-made spring roll wrappers, which is what all the recipes that I found when I did my initial search for this recommended I do. I took special searching to find one that included the recipe for the wrapper itself. Um, so that's going to be my tip for the day. Ooh, I know exactly what I'll do with these. because I've got these fun sort of square oblong plates, and they're around the right size for these things. So, I mean, we're crispy on the outside, and we're pretty well browned. The fish part of the filling was already cooked. It's just a matter of getting the outsides crispy and the eggs set. Uh, let's try that again. I'm going to be a little bit more gentle. This is my second and only other dough ball. Pop them out there. Oil your fingers. There's plenty of oil available. And gently stretch this guy out. It's very soft, supple dough. It also means that it is at risk of tearing, which I did with the first one. But you want it to be. Now, here's another thing. The way you're supposed to do this, they've got pictures of it, is pick up, spin, flip. Pick up, spin, flip. And it like stretches out like a pizza. And they do that directly on the flat top. And they just slap it down, and it ends up big and perfect, and then they fold it up, and it's just ugh. It's one of those things that, oh yeah, that guy's been making these every day, 1,000 of them every day for 35 years. He makes it look like it's the easiest thing in the world. I tore this one again. He makes it look like it's the easiest thing in the world, but good heckin' luck. Okay. I mean, it's a stretchy dough. It really does stretch out. It's not. I think it's because I probably didn't knead it quite enough. It was hard to knead. And I think if I made a larger batch, it would have been easier to knead. I think if I'd made a larger batch, it would have been easier to just get in there and knead it properly. Um, since I made just enough for two of these things, I found the dough ball difficult to knead and the proportions hard to nail down. Um, my pan is hot. Oop, I don't think I got to that one quite fast enough because the pan was hotter than the first time. I think doing these on a lower heat is advisable so that you have more time to work with them before they. Although I'm getting a fun blistering effect on this one, so that's different. Oops! Oh, you couldn't even see it. This one's shaped more like a crepe because I couldn't get the ends in quick enough before they hardened up because the pan was hot, hotter than the other one. Um, so that's a factor. So this one's crepe shaped. Um, we've got two pretty significantly different results going on here. I'm going to take this opportunity to wipe the oil off of my countertop while that guy fries up. And don't forget, we have a second thing we're making. Um, with a different pan, because I'm afraid of this other one a little bit more than this thing. This type of cooking, the dough is weird. I'm not real big on doughs. We're going to retrieve my sauce into this little orange bowl. Put that there. Little orange bowl. I'm not a big fan of making doughs and batters, but frying stuff in a pan, that's my wheelhouse. That's what I know what I'm doing. It's golden brown on both sides. It's got this nice sort of blistery surface that's very reminiscent of an egg roll. Um, Stuff doesn't squish out the sides when I press down on it, so I think it's done. So we'll retrieve it. It's super, super duper different than the first one. Let's take a peek at them quick before well, I'm going to get out the pan for the other guy here and get him warming up. We'll take a peek at these guys real quick. Behold, this long, skinny, crepe-shaped one and this other one. They certainly are very different from each other, considering they're literally all the same ingredients. The only difference was the pan was hotter for the second one, and it certainly made a difference. They're going to be too hot to eat right now because they just came out of some screaming hot boiling oil. So we can make a nice little service plate for them, though. And then I'm going to get out a big steel bowl. That one. We got a big steel bowl, and we're going to cover them up so they don't get cold. And we're going to head over here. And we're going to put our pan on medium. Actually going to move these guys. What I should do is I should take glamour shots now and then seal them up. Although I want to take glamour shots of I'll take separate shots and then I'll take a shot of it all together. Since I've got a pan heating up, oh, interesting. My Lazy Susan really wants to adjust the angle on these guys for me. Okay. Snap's taken. Lid on so it doesn't get super cold. It is just about lunchtime, and fortunately, I don't think this second half is going to take super long. I'm hoping. We're switching back to the sweet one, which we started at the very beginning. This one has some very strange instructions as far as I am concerned. It wants me to use a small burner, but then it wants me to move the pan around a lot so as to make sure that it's heating evenly. I think it just wants low heat, low even heat. So we're going to go on medium low. We're going to use some of this oil. And yeah, I think it's a lot of oil, but by the look of the picture, again, I'm working from photos. There's a decent amount of oil in the pan. I also need a lid for this one, which is why I've selected the pan I have, because I've got a lid for it. Okay, I guess I'm gonna make a big old weird pancake. And yeah, it's supposed to be like a big weird pancake. And I'm supposed to do that. I guess we'll find out. I've got enough for a second attempt if this goes horrifically wrong. There might be too much oil, but there's a lot of oil in the pan in the picture. Um, and it's supposed to take a couple minutes to cook this thing. It might just end up being a pancake. There is another element to it, of course. There's always one more element to it because it's supposed to be filled. It's a filled pancake. It's not just a big weird pancake. So while it's cooking, we're going to come back over here. I've got a fun weird fruit. Anybody recognize it? Anybody recognize our fun weird fruit friend here? Which we have to carefully skin. This is a prickly pear, which I guarantee you is not traditional accompaniment for Indonesian food, because these are not from there at all, and they're not exported heavily. Uh, That's what they look like on the inside. This stuff is almost as staining as beet juice, but it's not as concentrated, so it leaves this sort of thin pink stain on everything instead of a deep red stain. I've never had prickly pear. I've had prickly pear things. I've never had prickly pear just fresh. So I'm going to give it a taste after I've diced up half of it here. Take a chunk out of the middle, give it a nibble. It's an extremely mild flavor. It's sweet and sugary. It almost just tastes like sugar water. It's got almost no flavor. Strange. Strange. Meanwhile, over here, this is not doing the thing that I thought it was going to do. The picture I'm looking at has it cooking around the edge and then forming a million little tiny bubbles in the middle. I have no little bubble. Well, I have maybe like 3 little bubbles. I will say about the prickly pear fruit, it's got seeds, and the seeds are definitely present when you're eating it. It's still wet on top. Maybe my heat is too high or too low. It smells good. It smells good. It doesn't smell like a pancake, really. It smells different. So I did something. I'm getting more bubbles in the middle, so that's a good sign as well. Not the 1,000 tiny bubbles that I'm expecting from the picture, but we're getting more bubbles. I'm wondering if I'm misinterpreting this oiled pan and it's supposed to be very little oil. That may be what happened here. It is supposed to cook over several minutes. And then we're supposed to steam the top. Sugar and steam the top. When I say a million tiny bubbles, it looks like an English muffin or a crumpet with just a like a foam of bubbles in the picture, and we're not getting that. But I'm getting a lot of bubbles around the outside. Like the thing is holding together. Maybe my pan is too cold. It's not just a matter of waiting for it to cook until the top is set. It might have been a little cold when I put it in. It also might have been ended up being too much oil. It's not just a matter of cooking until the top is set. I'm supposed to cook until the top is bubbling vigorously, and then apply sugar to that bubbly top, and then put the lid on to steam the top in place. That's because we're not flipping this thing. It doesn't flip. This is why I prefaced at the beginning of I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never made, seen, or heard of this thing that I'm making until I'm making it. All I have to go on is pictures and a. Frankly, I'm not going to advertise this site because I think it's a kind of a badly written recipe. It's unclear in a lot of steps as to what the heck I'm supposed to be doing. Gonna dice up the rest of this prickly pear. The seeds are very crunchy, crunchy to the point of being kind of awkward to eat. I imagine that you're supposed to strain it, make a jam or something where you can get the seeds out of it, rather than just eat it like this. But we're gonna get it all diced up there, since now that I've peeled it, there's no way I can hang on to it. So how's our top doing? The top is set. So this did not bubble up. The top is already starting to set. I have enough batter to try again. I forgot to sugar it. You're supposed to sugar this side. And then steam it. Let's see, how much batter have I got left? I've got enough batter for a pancake, which makes sense. The recipe originally made 3 of these, and I cut it in half. So making 1.5 of these. Put on sugar and turn down the heat. But that's the thing. I never got the bubbly stage. It just skipped right to starting to set up on top, which makes me think that the bottom is probably overcooked at this point already. It's also been in there substantially longer than this recipe suggests it should have been. It says a couple minutes, and I've been in there for, well, long enough for the top to start to set up. So I'm not sure. I feel like the heat was wrong. But also, it could have just been that the batter was wrong. Again, no knowledge. What on earth is? Oh, it's the shadow of the. There's a big spot forming in my pancake. It's the shadow of the handle. Um, it's guys, don't worry. It's the shadow of the handle. Um, well, I guess I'm going to end up with a big weird pancake more than a Martabak. We'll still try to do a stuff and fill with it. Get out another one of these fun square plates. Square plates. I got these are my newest plates. I got them at Goodwill, like I get many of my things. 10 plates for $1. Like I couldn't say no. Okay, I can see that it's browning on the bottom and the top is firm. So this has to come out of the pan, right? Let's try making another one using all of my remaining batter. See what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky. We're going to get it started before I go over and start filling. Okay, this guy. We're back over here. That one's going to think about what it's done. I'm going to So, where's that knife? So this does not look like it does in the picture. But we're going to sally forth. See, it says turn the pan for even heat, but it also says use your smallest burner. And it's like those are two counter things. I mean, the bottom is crispy. This has not come out the way I think it was meant to. I'm supposed to put that there. Chocolate. Which I have in the form of chips. I've chosen fruit, but I guess it's a recipe I'm looking at has a bunch of suggested fillings. It's not like this is the filling. These are the potential fillings. Choose whichever ones you like. This thing looks more like a fry bread than a pancake to me. I want to say we probably just went with too much oil in the pan. Oh, shoot! I know what happened. Fuck. Oh, no, I know exactly what happened, why this didn't work. I'll read it to you verbatim. Heat your frying pan at medium-low heat using the smallest ring of your stove cooker. Mix a quarter teaspoon of baking powder and a quarter teaspoon of baking soda into a tablespoon of water. Quickly but carefully stir this raising mixture into the batter. You're supposed to add a raising agent to the batter just before you fry it so that it forms all those bubbles. That's where the bubbles come from. I even got them out. They're literally sitting right here. I got them out at the very beginning because they're in the recipe. And then I just completely forgot about them. But that's why I'm getting no bubbles. There's no raising agent. There's nothing in this to make bubbles. I'm just making weird pancakes. Okay, well, that explains it, and we will have to revisit this because clearly I did this wrong. I, I mean, sure, raising agents don't add anything to the flavor. Often they ruin the flavor of things. Well, screw it. Since it's not bubbling up and raising anyways, I'm going to treat it like a pancake. I'm going to treat it like a fry bread. Since it's already screwed up, we're just gonna ad lib this second one and do it my way. Oh, yeah, can't believe I knew that was an element of it. I read it like 3 times, working out if I could make this recipe. I was like, okay. What have I? I've got all the things. I've got the powders. God. Sorry. So basically, I'm making a sweet fry bread. It's just fine, but it wasn't what I was going for. So, mm. There's some mucilage in this prickly pear. I bet you if you wanted to make a jelly, a jam out of prickly pear, it would be super, super good at that because it's got a lot of that thick, sticky plant snot in it. Um, that's what mucilage is, by the way, plant snot. Anyways, well, both of the things did not end up looking like they like I had intended at the start. This one is just the second one was just 100% my fault. Oh, I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking myself because also after the first one here didn't look right, I didn't look at the recipe to see if there was something else. I had enough batter for 2, but I just threw the batter in the pan and then went back to the recipe to see what was happening. Like a fool. Like a fool. Um, anyways, let's get this guy off the pan. So that explains it. Okay, well, I guess I will have this on the list of things that need to be revisited. Since I hacked him up. Yeah, I'll have to find a different accompaniment for it because I don't really want to do both elements at the same time, or both of these, because the other one kind of worked. Well, here they are. They don't look much from the top. They've got this side cross section. I'm going to go take a photo. We'll taste all these stuff. I'm sure that my creations today are going to taste nice. They're just not going to be right. So I guess that means I will have. I'll have to let Morgan and Zintax know that they should come back and check it out. Where did I put my? Oh, I brought it in the kitchen for some reason. My camera. Okay, well, The actual cooking of these things doesn't take that long. I might, next time, make up that batter in advance. And then it can be part of a service of a plating rather than the main event, because the batter is not hard to make and it needs resting time. So it's a little bit annoying for this type of show where I would need something to fill the resting time. Let's give these things a taste. They certainly look good. They don't look like the pictures in either of the recipes I was following, but they certainly look like food. We're going to do the main course first. And I guess I'm going to taste both of these because they're different. Well, that looks right on the inside. Dip it in my sauce. Mm. Ooh, ooh. Hey, that's good. Hey, that's pretty good. Um, the curry is very subtle, ultimately, in it. This stuff is punchy. Just a dab will do you. Um, the curry is subtle. A lot of onion flavor in there as well, but it's not overwhelming. It's got a little delicate taste of the scallop, but again, not a ton. None of the flavors are terribly overwhelming. It's just very light, delicate flavor overall. The crust is crispy, a little bit chewy. That might have been because I had it resting out there while I was making the other thing. Um, but it still has some crisp to it. We didn't lose that. Let's try the other one. I'm going to go in a ways because I know that that end is not got much filling in it. I can see how this would be like pre-slice this, and this would be a finger food because you can, if it's made properly. Mine's probably not made properly, which is not holding together very well. But you can see the pieces are kind of robust. Mmm. Mmm. Okay. Okay. I like this one more. I think the higher heat is good, and I think it's just a matter of I don't have a flat top to cook them on, so the sides all kind of bunch up. If I had a flat top, slap this thing down, put a scoop of lid on it, and just quick fold it up. I think that'd be great because the higher heat gives a crispier, blistery surface on this, which I like. I don't know if it's right, but I think it tastes nicer. That nice blistery surface. The pictures have it almost deep frying these things. Like the oil is halfway up the side of them when they're in the pan. So, but they come up with that blistery surface. So I think that's the goal. It's weird because they make them on a flat top and then drown them in oil in a wok after they've started to set up. So it's, I don't know. I'd love to see these being made by a professional to see what I did wrong. Oh, this is tasty though. This is going to be a good lunch. Okay, we shall set those aside. I'll get to them in a sec. Still nice and warm. I would like to eat them while they remain nice and warm. So we will do a fast taste of the sweet ones. So the bottom one, we've got two different ones here. The bottom one was cooked only on this surface, and the heat penetrated through, and it's very dense looking. Let's give it a try. It did melt the little chocolate bits I put in there, so that's good. It's very dense. I think without the leavening agent in there, this batter is too heavy. It has a very it's cooked through. It's not like it's undercooked. It's crispy around the edges, which is nice, and it's heavy and almost. It's not like a pancake. It's denser than a pancake, and I take the blame for that myself. Let's try this one that I fried on both sides. See if that saved it at all. Maybe cooking it a little bit faster uh, prevented it from getting dense. Who knows? Hmm. That one's better. It is a bit less dense, and I think that's because I cooked it quite a bit faster. Still has the crispy edges. The flavor of the pancake part is extremely mild. I feel like it's meant to be more of a vessel for the fillings and a textural element than a flavor. It tastes a lot like a very mild fry bread. There's a little hint of sweetness to it. There's a little hint of creaminess to it in the flavor. The chocolate is obviously a good accompaniment. That is the recommended one for all the things I could find was uh, chopped chocolate or chocolate sprinkles that then melt just from the heat of the sides. Also sweetened condensed milk, which I have, but I only have it in cans, and I didn't want to open a whole can for this, so we skipped that part. The prickly pear adds an interesting sort of bright sweetness to this. Uh, it's not bringing much flavor. It doesn't have a lot of flavor, but it is somehow, despite having pretty much no flavor, standing out in this because it's a light, fresh sweetness as opposed to the heavy, dark sweetness of chocolate. I don't hate this. Obviously, we didn't get that textural element from the big foamy thing that we were supposed to. So we'll be revisiting this because I did it wrong. Um, okay, well, there we go. That's the end result. It's okay. It's okay. Um, I'll eat it. I'm not going to throw it away. It's still tasty. It just has some definite, obvious problems. And as predicted, I did in fact make a lot of dishes. A lot of dishes. Wow. Um, okay. Um, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up so I can enjoy the fruits of my labor. I know right where we're going to raid today, assuming she has not had any problems. Jen is on. Jen is never on. Oh, I was going to raid someone else, but maybe we should go raid Jen. Jen is just chatting and is on a break. Hold on. I thought I knew where we were going. I wait through a ad real quick. Okay. I was going to go raid Tiny Shark, but friend of the channel, Jen, Carbon Jen, is on right now, so we're going to go raid Jen. She's just chatting, and she's doing a stream room setup by the looks of it. So I'll go say hi. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for bearing with me through this modest catastrophe. Uh, I, I I told you to start. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Um, but yeah, I will be back next week. I am hoping. I always talk about my plans, and then I never end up engaging in any of them. So I'm not going to talk about them this time. Um, when my plans come to fruition, you'll see them. Huzzah! Maybe we'll eventually play a game on this channel. Who knows? Let's go. I'll just wait for the countdown. Mel wanted a staring channel before, so I'm just going to stare at you until the countdown runs out.